Hey, everybody. Welcome back to In the Middle, the show that completely rejects partisan politics. I'm Justin Staten, your host. Along with me is my sidekick, as always, Alice. And guys, we are 6 days out from the next election. And of course, it's a big one. I hope if you haven't voted yet that you're going to make your ways to the polls on November 5th. Alice even got the day off to go vote on the 5th. So hopefully she's going to take it. Right, Alice?
I will.
All right. So Alice is getting the day off to go to the polls. So we got a special guest for you guys today. A good buddy of mine, Arthur Solomon, is going to be our guest on the show today. Another interview show for you guys. 2 in a row, which I don't know if we'll do that often where we do 2 interviews in a row, but you guys are getting 2 in a row this time. Arthur's got a great story. He's a good friend of mine. I've known him for years, a real estate investor like me. Him and his brother have built quite the real estate company in Springfield, Ohio, and they're doing a bang up job. But more importantly than what they're doing in real estate, Arthur's got a really good story because he immigrated here with his family from Russia several years ago. And he's just got a really good story. And I just think, with all the talk about, immigration and illegal immigration and open borders, it would be good to get the perspective of somebody who immigrated here, went through the process legally, and what that's been like and what that experience has been for him. But before we get into that, just a quick reminder, guys, if you haven't went over to Amazon.com and picked up your copy of We the Puppets, the audience for the best illusion ever performed, which is my new book, make sure to go over and do so. Get over there, pick up a copy. If you guys want, though, like a more personal touch kind of copy kind of thing, go to my website, justinstaten.com, where you can get an autographed copy. And I'll even write a special note in the book for you. And don't forget, the holidays are coming up, so it could make a good stocking stuffer. Alice told me yesterday she's buying a copy for everybody in our family. So thank you, Alice. I really appreciate that. And I'm putting you on the spot. She didn't actually say that, but I keep saying she said that, hoping she'll actually pick up a copy for everybody in her family.
I did say that. I said I was going to send a copy to
You did?
everybody else's house. Yeah.
There we go. So guys, follow Alice. Do what Alice does. And thanks to you guys actually pushed the book up to the #1 spot in political leadership when we launched it. So thank you guys so much for that. I can't say thank you enough. It is greatly appreciated. So Alice, I almost forgot. Alice, what should people do if they're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify?
Everybody should go and give it a rating and leave a comment, boost it up. Yeah. It really helps the algorithm. So we'd really appreciate it.
Good job, Alice. You gotta say it with a little bit more flair. But I did hear that like people like the soft spokenness that you bring because I'm kind of loud and obnoxious. So I thought you really brought that home. No. Yeah. So guys, do what Alice says. Go over and leave, if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, just pause it for 5 seconds, leave a rating and review. It will help everybody find it, moves it up in the algorithm, helps us get this message out. Because I think we can move this country forward without the partisanship of the 2-party system. And that's what we like to talk about here on In the Middle. So, Alice, what's new with you? Anything good? Anything cooking?
Nothing, just my day-to-day here in the middle of the woods.
In the middle of the woods. That's a good one. That should be your next podcast, like In the Middle of the Woods with Alice Wiggin.
But yeah, no, it's good, just watching the leaves change day by day. It's been really fun. So
yeah. So for those of you that don't know the context, I think I've said on some previous episodes that, obviously we're in the real estate world, in the real estate game, and we own a couple campgrounds down in Hocking Hills, Ohio, which is kind of like the Gatlinburg. Alice, wouldn't you say it's kind of like the Gatlinburg of Ohio?
Yeah, it definitely, it's a big tourist attraction for anybody in the surrounding states, especially Michigan and Pennsylvania. So we get a lot of people from
a lot of people from those Michigan, Pennsylvania, Indiana, Kentucky. People come up from Kentucky. But Alice lives at one of the properties, and it is on 86 acres of essentially wilderness. So when she says in the middle of the woods, she's not kidding. She literally lives in the middle of the woods. So, but she does a good job. Yeah. So anyway, we got a good guest coming up today. and want to get him on. He just released a new book, and he immediately got it to number one on Amazon's bestseller list, The Art of Abundance by my good friend, Arthur Solomon. What it takes to break free, create true wealth, and live life on your terms. Super excited to have him here on the podcast, my good buddy, Arthur Solomon. Arthur, what is going on, my man?
What's up? What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on. It's a real honor and a pleasure to be back. Second episode, or second time on the show.
Yeah, second time on the show for Arthur. I should have looked this up before we got on, and I didn't. That's my bad. But yes, you were like one of my first guests when I originally started doing the show. And I'm happy to have you back. And it's a good time to have you back because the political environment has shifted so much. And I got to tell this story, Arthur, before we get too deep in the weeds. And I want to talk about your book. I want to talk about you coming here from Russia. But I remember very distinctly the 2020 election, the election night, or no, the next night, the night after the election. I remember getting a phone call from you, and we were having a conversation. And I don't remember if you remember this, but you said to me, Justin, I don't understand how people could vote for Joe Biden given the success that Donald Trump has had. And I remember telling you, Arthur, people, until they experience enough pain, will not wake up and change their ways. And until they experience enough pain, they're going to keep voting the wrong way in this country. And I think that prediction may have been right. Do you remember that conversation?
I remember that conversation vividly.
Yeah.
It's good advice too. And a lot of people were awake. A lot of people were awake at that time to some degree, but I feel like now there's so many more people awake.
Oh, it's crazy. I think it's night and day from the 2020 election felt, even though we had success, we just went through COVID, it was kind of a hot mess. And I think it was just very sleepy. There wasn't a lot of energy behind it. Things were actually given outside of COVID, things were relatively good in the economy. Everybody was making money. We were all doing, and I think we were just fell asleep at the wheel and we didn't pay attention. And until, you dial up that pain a little bit, people typically won't change. They won't change their ways. They won't change their motives until they experience a little bit of pain. But yeah, I was thinking about that earlier when I knew you were going to come on the episode, and I'm like, man, I remember having that conversation. It's so funny how things have changed, and what seems like a blink of an eye, but here we are, the next election, and people have experienced the pain. But before we get too much into talking politics, I want to talk about your new book. So what made you want to sit down? Because I know you're a busy guy. I know you. I've known you for years. I know you run at 100 miles an hour. What made you want to sit down and write this book?
Yeah, I just want to say congratulations to you as well on your book. Can't wait to read it. I just got it in time for the podcast today.
Oh, I see it. It's up there. Oh, awesome, man.
I got it. Yeah, I got it up here. I can't wait to read it. So thanks for taking the time to do that. But the reason I wanted to do it is I wanted to do it for my kids. So if I was to die tomorrow, which we never know when our time is going to come, I wanted to do it for my kids. I wanted us coming here as immigrants with next to nothing and just pounding the pavement and trying to find a way. And, the opportunity is out here. And I know you just had Tim Sisler on the podcast here right before me, and you guys were talking about an opportunity for the immigrants that came here from, Haitian immigrants. Hey, if I was a Haitian, I'd be trying to come over here too.
Absolutely.
If the border was wide open. And so that's what my book is about. It's about creating that life of abundance, not just waiting for things, but actually making an actionable step, finding your vehicle, finding your fuel, finding your why, and actionable steps that you can take and implement in your life. So that's what I wrote it for. I wrote it for my kids to be able to say, okay, my dad was this, came here from this, and this is the life that he was able to create, and this is how he did it. This is a piece-by-piece step book. And I wrote it like a third grader. So I wrote it so everybody could understand it. I don't have a fancy language. I'm a BC student. I'm not very intelligent. I am a hard worker. And so that's probably my advantage is I'm a very hard worker. I'll find a way. I don't know what the word is, but I'll find a way to figure something out. I'll watch some videos, I'll read some books, I'll listen to some people, talk to some people. I'm very inquisitive. So that's what this book is about. It's about being someone that's inquisitive, not having the money, not having the opportunity, not having the family, not having the connections, but still being able to put it all together and still try to find a way and be successful here in the United States. Because I think still right now, 2024, it's still available, but I don't know where we're going. It seems like we're going more towards a communist, socialist, authoritative kind of a government, especially if Kamala Harris wins, I truly think we're going to be in World War III, and borders are going to be wide open. We're not going to have a country anymore. We're not going to have a United States anymore. We're not going to have this flag anymore. It's going to be UN or whatever flag and be in all kinds of wars. So I said, well, if I'm going to die tomorrow, I need to write a book. So at least I'll have something to believe for my next generation if they're still around.
Yeah. And it's like, it's funny. I mean, you can relate to this process, sitting down, like having that light bulb moment, like, okay, I want to write a book. Right. And then actually sitting down and putting in the time to like write. And I know what your schedule is like, man. So like, I know what it's like to run 100 miles an hour because I do it every day. And I just remember during that process being like, should I do this? Like, do I have time to do this? Will I even have time to promote the damn thing if I do get it written? Like, what was that process like for you being a busy entrepreneur? Somebody like you guys are closing. I talked to your brother the other day, just like a quick 30-second conversation with Stas. And he was like, I just bought 3 houses. And I'm like, gee, like, what do you get? Like, so what was that process like for you? Like to take the time to write a book while you're being on, because there's other people that may see this and go, well, maybe I can do it too. Maybe I can write a book. What was your process like?
I'll say if you have an ambition to write a book, you should write a book. It did take a lot of time. This was a year and a half in the making. Good thing I had a good publishing team behind me. Thank you to shout out to Mike Fallett and Dream. He's actually out of Pennsylvania. Dream started publishing. So they made the process very simple. I hate to say that I didn't do a lot of work. I did do a lot of work as far as editing, but we had 3 sessions where they interviewed me, asked me different questions. We kind of made the backbone of the book of what I wanted it to be about. And then we talked about it. They had a writer that was writing everything as we went. And so, you know, the trade-off is money versus time, right? So I could have sat there and wrote the book myself, but then it would have taken away from me closing on property. So I went ahead and I paid, I think it was $12,000 or something to that effect, maybe more, or right around that price, to have them take care of the whole process and make me an Amazon bestseller in 3 categories. So which was very, very cool to have. You know, my first book, I didn't expect that. And so I'm very glad that I had a good team behind me. So I can't take all the credit. I was just there to provide, you know, some of my insights. So having a good team, having the right team, and you know, as you know, Justin, you're a very, very successful businessman. You know what it takes to run a business. You know, it takes a successful team, just like me and my brother. You know, I need my brother because, you know, I'm out there closing deals, raising money, doing different things. And he's out there in the trenches putting a scope of work together, working with our contractors. And so you need a good team. So I had a great team. Thank you to my team. Thank you to Mike Fallett. If you guys want to get your book published, hit me up. I've got an affiliate link for that.
Oh, nice. So, and yes, I can relate to having a good team. You're looking at one of those team members right now, and Alice. She is awesome. She's a dynamo. She's got more energy than I think I'll have for the rest of my life. So it's great to have her here on the team. And I think so the process that you went through sounds like you kind of went through more of like using a ghostwriter to free up your time to keep your business running, while you could also say, this is what the book is. This is my story. This is what is important. Here's my values. And going through the process myself, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I think you went the right way, and I may have went the hard way because, like, dude, it was brutal. And I remember nights where I'm sitting there, like, in my office, like, well, sitting here in my office, like, and my wife's like, hey, you coming in tonight? Like, what's up? And I'm like, yeah, I'm just trying to finish up work. And it's like, you know, taking that time away from your business and your family is such a huge. So I think next time I might do what you did. And so I'm going to just send me that affiliate link so that next time I can save myself some time. Awesome. So you immigrated here when you were, how old were you when you immigrated?
We immigrated January 11th, 2001.
And you came from where?
I was born in Uzbekistan. We lived in Russia after the Soviet Union broke apart. And then we ended up relocating here as immigrants from Uzbekistan. My stepdad, Jason Solomon, he was an American guy, sold technologies overseas. Long story short, he met my mom. Mom always wanted to live in the United States, you know, land of opportunity. So we immigrated here. He actually never wanted to come back because everything's so cheap and so beautiful over there. It was a great place to grow up to some degree, but there was a lot of issues as well. It was kind of communist country, socialist country. So we kind of came here from an environment that was very much. I remember this vivid memory. I'll tell you this quick story. when the president of Uzbekistan would come down like the main drag to go to the palace or whatever, the White House in Uzbekistan, people had to like hide behind buildings. They would have police lined up all across the street, up and down the street. You couldn't even see the motorcade traveling. I remember that as a kid. It was an interesting experience. But we came to the United States in 2001, and a whole different experience here,
right?
With having different freedoms that you don't have over there. Like over in Russia today, I don't even know to this day, I don't even think you can have a firearm.
Wow.
You can't have a firearm to protect yourself and your loved ones. I couldn't imagine living here. You know, we've got a lot of gun violence, and I'm all for guns, and I think more people should have more guns. This is just one of the things, one of the points. You should be able to protect you and your loved ones. And, you know, coming over here, that was one of the things I was like, wow, people can have a gun to protect themselves. This is crazy. So that's one of the things I love and appreciate about the United States of America, where you can have, number one, protection. Number two, you can start your own business and you have resources to, you can start from nothing if you're a hard enough worker. That's why, you know, some of the people that are coming over here, whether it's legally, illegally, the border's wide open. Like, as long as that's open, it doesn't matter. People are going to come from all walks of life because they realize this is the beacon of freedom. This is the last standing nation of values of freedom. You know?
Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you, but I just think you're making a good point. And it's like, you said it earlier, and I kind of want to bring it full circle because, like, here you are, somebody that immigrated here with your brother, your mother. Did you have other siblings?
They were born here in the United States. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Two sisters.
But just you and Stosk immigrated here. Like, you guys grew up overseas and then immigrated, just the two of you. And then you had others. Okay, got you. But you make a great point when you say, I don't blame the Haitian migrants for wanting to come to Springfield. And I think we make this mistake when we talk about illegal immigration, because if you're against illegal immigration, the one side wants to tell you, well, you're some sort of ism, right? Or an ist, right? You're either a racist or, you know, some ism or ist that you're not, right? And the reality of this immigration question is we are America has always been and will always be a country of immigrants, right? But the reality is that if we don't have some sort of process by which people come here and assimilate to the American values, the American culture, the Constitution, then you end up in a situation where there's chaos. And when chaos ensues, then you are genuinely violating every other American citizen's natural rights to life, liberty, and happiness, right? Because if you've got 20,000 people coming into a town like Springfield, not assimilating, it creates a chaos that literally negates your natural rights as a citizen. And that is why legal immigration and a process has to exist. You guys sounds like you guys went through that process. What was that process like for your mother and for you guys?
I also just had a super quick question just for context. How old were you when you immigrated?
I was almost 12. So I was born February 13, 1990. So I was almost 12. We came here January 11, 2001. And so it took my mom as far as, I believe, 9 years. She was married to an American citizen, had 2 kids here, had real estate here. And it took 9 years. You had to go through civil exam, history exam, attorney costs. The whole process took, I think it was 9 years. I could be wrong, but it was pretty close to 9 years, if not more than 9 years. And so for me to see, I mean, we should have just waited till Joe Biden was in, and we could have just came here
overnight, baby.
Overnight, let's go.
If it fits, it ships.
I don't blame these people for coming over here. What I do blame is the federal government. And I know people are like mad at the city officials of Springfield and da-da-da. This is a federal issue. These people like Brian Heck and Rob Rue and the commission had nothing to do with these people. Like, oh, yeah, let's start like bringing in the people. Because if you have one person establishing here, then guess what? Their brother's going to come here. Their mom's going to come here.
Exactly.
Their friend's going to come here. And that's how it works. And so I don't blame any of the city officials for none of this. It's the federal government. It's the Joe Bidens. It's these puppets. It's these globalist cucks that are out there doing absolutely nothing. Matter of fact, they're representing the interest of George Soros. He was his mentor, if you guys don't know George Soros, his mentor started the Open Society Foundation, meaning like the bust down all the borders, bring in the this is part of the global agenda, Agenda 2030. If you're familiar with Agenda 2030, if you're not, I suggest you look that up, where you'll have nothing and be happy with it. This is part of the bigger agenda. This is what it's about. So this is why this is the most consequential election that we've had in our lifetime, in my opinion, because if you have nothing and you'll be happy with it, wait a minute, hold on, Justin, you have property. So you have some campgrounds and real estate and rental properties and so on and so forth. So how is that going to feel? You're going to have nothing. And why do you think Donald Trump is fighting so hard?
Right.
You know, this dude is a billionaire. He didn't have to go there, and he could have been a part of the globalist establishment, just like most of these other people are that have no backbone. And that's why I support you, you know, as far as you said you were running for office. We need more Justin Statens.
I don't know if we're ready to drop that out just yet, but there is a possibility, maybe.
What I'm saying is this: Donald Trump, he said also back in the day at Oprah show, he says, I don't think I'd ever want to do that, but I'd never rule it out. Right? If things got bad enough, you would. Right? For my kids. What about your kids? You've got kids.
100%. Yes. 100%. And I think, to your point, and that is exactly what Donald Trump said. And that's how I feel. If things get bad enough, then if not me, who, right? Like, who is going to step up? Because like Donald Trump, I know I can't be bought. I know that like I can't be turned because I know me, right? I know my thoughts. I can't look inside the mind of another man or woman and decide and decipher why they're really doing something. You know, why are they running for office? Why are they, you know, trying to represent the will of the people? I can't look into their mind, but I do know my mind. And so, you know, it is something I've considered, and you're right. It's like, not really, but if things get bad enough, then like somebody's got to do it. And I know me, I can't read the thoughts of other people. So, but going back to this theme of, you know, I can't blame immigrants because we are, I think, the last shining beacon on the hill for liberty and freedom for the world. All right. Because China is growing, you know, rapidly. Their economy is growing rapidly thanks to us. They're going into more countries, South America, Africa. They're really trying to create their own global economy so that someday they can just cut us off at the knees. So, of course, a lot of people still want to come here. Now, that could change over time. But even with China's growth, I don't think people are going to clamor to go to China and live under the communist regime of China, right? So what do you think right now is the biggest threat to America still actually being the shining beacon on the hill?
It's paid and bought for puppet politicians that are in bed with big pharma. Look at our food. It's garbage. Compare our food, compare our cereal, compare anything that we make here in the United States versus Europe or anywhere else, quite frankly. Nothing but chemicals, nothing but food colorings, dyes, preservative, trash, pure trash. So that's why, you know, Robert Kennedy, he's running for Make America Healthy Again.
Yeah.
You know, we've got mysterious chemtrails. We've got mysterious derailings. We've got mysterious food plant blow-ups and planes crashing into food processing facilities and stuff like that. A lot of stuff doesn't make sense, and it doesn't get resolved. So you have a plan. This is all planned out, in my opinion. It's not just my opinion. This is just look at the facts. If you're not living under a rock, then you can do your own research. I mean, everything that I just said, fact check me. If you guys disagree, fact check anything that I just said. Look in the last 4 years and look at the trend.
Yeah, 100%. If you guys disagree, leave a comment down below. Love to hear what you think about it.
Or call me. My number is right there. It's right next to my name. You can
Holy crap. I didn't even realize that you had your number up there. That's brilliant, dude. Genius. I didn't even catch it. There's his number. You can call him. If you guys disagree with what Arthur's saying, not only do I want you to leave a comment, but call his ass right there. There's his number. Just you call him direct.
So I'm really glad that was on purpose because I saw that earlier and I was like, I don't know if he wants that there, but.
And you said nothing.
Yeah. Well,
thanks, liberal.
Again,
you
I
said
didn't know.
No, I'm kidding.
I'm happy to debate. I'm happy if people disagree with me. I'm happy to talk. I've got nothing to hold back. I'm not afraid. You know, this is the thing with a lot of people. A lot of people I was even talking to a close friend of ours, and I was like, "Who are you voting for?" And he's like, "Well, I'm voting." Like, why you even ask? Like, I was like, "Why don't you have a Trump sign in your yard? Like, that's what you said, right? You already early voted. Like, why don't I don't like? Well, liberals buy shoes too." I'm like, okay, so so you're not gonna voice your opinion, like you're not gonna stand on what you believe because you're afraid someone's not gonna do business with you. I don't need someone to like, if someone's watching this and they're like, "Oh, Arthur's voting for Trump," don't do no business with me, dude. There's like a million realtors. Go down the street and find somebody else. I don't need your business, to be honest with you. And I'm being so 100%. And I've been speaking like this, you know what I mean? Like, people don't want to do business with me because I voted for a certain way. I love all kinds of people. I love people from the left, from the right, from all circles. But the problem that I have is people that are afraid. That's the biggest problem that I have, is people that are afraid to even voice their opinion. Like, okay, if we agree to disagree, let's talk about it. But like, don't be too afraid to like, or intimidated to even say anything in the first place. That's how we're going to get into a mess where people are going to be just like if you look at Soviet Russia, if you ever studied Soviet Russia.
Look at Venezuela. Like, everybody kept their mouth shut in Venezuela, and look what happened there. And it ended up crashing and burning.
Did you see their election this year? It went like this. It went just like Joe Biden, like this, and it went whoop, whoop.
Yeah. Let's get the socialists in. Yeah. And that is what you're going to have here. Like, and you were about, and I cut you off, and I'm sorry I did that. I shouldn't have done that. But you were getting ready to talk about, like, even in Russia, like in Russia kind of puts itself out there as like, it's a more free society. But it's not. Like, you're going to get Putin, all, like, every year you're going to. And is that what you want here in America? But isn't it ironic, Arthur, that the people who are pushing for the same policies and regime as Putin are the ones calling us Russian stooges? Like, I just find that to be rich. Like, my comment section all the time is, he's a Russian bot. This is a Russian bot. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now? I'm a fucking Russian bot. Your side is the one that's out there saying that you want you want more government control. You're okay voting for somebody that was installed as your candidate. You're okay just turning a blind eye to all the statistical anomalies that happened in the 2020 election. You're okay being told to stay at home and shut your mouth during COVID. And you're calling me the Russian bot? Like, you can't be serious. And I just find it ironic. And somebody who immigrated from Russia, it's like, what do you, because I'm sure people call you a Russian bot from time to time too. How's that make you feel?
I don't give a shit. To be honest with you, here's what I say. Here's what I tell them. As far as, you talk about pain. You talk about the pain that people will feel. They're not going to say anything until it's painful enough. So what the world is saying, like, guess how many transgender studies majors there are in Russia?
Zero.
How many genders are there in Russia?
Two.
Yeah. They asked Khabib, and Patrick Bet-David asked them on the vault. He asked him how many genders is it, and he just laughed like stupid. Like, are you like, do you have a brain at all? Like, how many brain? Yeah, you have an anomaly once in a while, like 1 out of a million or something, like, or whatever. This, I don't know. Fact check.
Yeah, but we had a term for that. Wasn't it called like a hermaphrodite? Like, if you were born with both organs. Like,
yeah.
Exactly. So it's possible, but
gender dysphoria, and now it's just like the left is like, yeah, there's more than 2 genders. Like, you people are nuts. And this is where the world is like, dude, we're done. Like, you look at the Muslim countries, do you think they're gonna press this upon their kids? Like, oh yeah, son, there's more than 2 genders. You can become a woman. Like, no, this is the delusion that people hate about this country, about the United States of America. This country is just like, it's not even this country. It's the globalists that are like running. Look at the Secretary of Health. It's a dude that thinks he's a woman. He dresses up like a woman. Secretary of Health, fat, white, overweight, dude that thinks he's a woman. What's normal about that? That's
right. And he's the Secretary of Health. So if you imagine what health should look like in America, right? That's the imagery that they on that side, which again, this isn't a Democrat or Republican thing. This is an extremist left thing. They on that side want the imagery of public health in America to, and you fucking hit the nail on the head. They want it to be the image of a fat, white, out of shape dude who says he's a woman, and it clearly looks like a dude. That's what the imagery of American health is. Like, that is your health director. Like, what? Like, and you're right.
Just call it how it is. It's a fat, white, gay dude. That's what you are. You're not a woman. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. And you know, everybody that sees this is going to say it's hate and bigotry. You get that, right? They're going to. But I think we should call crazy for crazy, right? Because I have so many friends that are LGBT, that are gay. I'm not going to go through the whole alphabet soup here. I have friends that are gay, people that I love deeply, who are really good friends that are gay. And even they are like just done with this shit. They're like, this is so absurd that like I can't anymore. Like I can't be a part of it. I don't want to be a part of it. Because it is crazy town, right? Like, I mean, we've gotten to a place where we say that like these things are normal, and it's like they're not though. Like, and to your point, Arthur, and I do believe there is a little bit of a global elite fetish style takeover that they would love to see. And I think that if I can get you to believe, right, that a guy who clearly looks like a guy, talks like a guy, acts like a guy, has a 5 o'clock shadow, has long hair, got some boobs, and puts a skirt on. If I can convince you that that is a biological female, because that is the argument. It's not that this guy identifies, because I don't have a problem with that, right? Like I don't have a problem with somebody who says, look, I feel like I'm a woman trapped in a man's body. Dude, cool. Like I respect it. I love you. It's all good. But what I have the problem with is when, you know, you look like a guy, you're all the guys, and that side is trying to tell me, no, because they identify as such, that's a biological woman. Wait, what? That is, if I can get you to agree to that line of thinking, right? If I can get you to look past reality, I can get you to believe anything. If I can get you to agree to that, you will agree to anything. And I think that's the exercise in America.
Boom. That's it, Justin. That's exactly what you just said is what's going on. And so people are afraid to speak the truth because they're like, that doesn't make any sense, but they're afraid to say anything. Okay. We have got to stop living in fear. I trust God. I trust God. Number one, I don't fear no man, to be honest with you, you know? So I have no issue. I have a Bible. You have a Bible, probably. You know what I mean? What's it saying there? How many genders is there in the Bible? So this is a fact. And so, yeah, do you have anomalies? Yeah. But when people start believing this kind of nonsense, we have, as a country, we are done because you don't even know what is the truth anymore. You can just brainwash people into whatever philosophy. Like we send kids to these schools and there's all kinds of these sexualized, I don't even know, like, all this material. There's not just in schools, but like you look at any kind of commercials, you look at any like Super Bowl, you look at anything and everything. It's literally in products and
yeah, the Olympics. The opening ceremony to the Olympics was like, what am I watching right now? Is this like a cult ritual thing happening? Right? Like I'm just perplexed. But, you know, I think those are all valid points. And Alice, you're awfully quiet over there in the corner. I would really like to know what do you think? What's Gen Z think? No, and I know you can't speak for all of Gen Z.
Yeah, no, I definitely have some opinions. I just think that, you know, like you said, I can't speak for everybody in Gen Z, and I do have, you know, friends who are alphabet soup, as you said.
You can just say gay. It's okay. Like,
yeah, my best friend is gay, and I think it's very interesting that, you know, we're bringing up the two genders because it's like, from my perspective, like, and I know we talked earlier about how there is, you know, or we talked a couple days ago about how there's like extreme sides of things, you know, and I think this is another thing that it really kind of, there's two extreme sides of things. And I, you know, not saying one way or the other is correct, but I definitely think that, you know, gender and sex and all of those things are things that can be taught and accepted. And like there are two biological sexes. That is the science behind things. And, you know, that's how that's going to be. Like there's never going to be changing that. But I think, you know, there is people who identify as like say non-binary or somebody who identifies as something else. And I think that is gender, and we can, kind of teach that and educate that. But
where do you think that should be taught and educated, though? Because, I think the counter argument is that at what age is it appropriate to say it's okay to accept, somebody who's claims that their biological gender is different than as they appear? Because I personally don't think that it's in elementary schools or like public schools. Maybe at a private university or college, you can have a gender studies. But what do you think?
I think having gender studies is very important, but I also think that with kids growing up these days, like they're going to see things on the internet, like no matter what, it's, kind of inevitable. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's important to like teach kids, not like I don't think it should be in elementary schools and like super, left side of things. I don't think it should be like that, but I definitely think that there should be. And I think this goes back to another thing we talked about a couple days ago, just about how like it should be an individual choice on what you kind of preach to your children or put out there.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Let me ask you this, Alice, from this perspective, since we've dived down this rabbit hole, and I am interested in knowing your perspective on this, representing that Gen Z category. So do you think that, like, obviously I think agree that somebody can identify as whatever they want to identify as from a gender perspective, right? Like you have the right to do that. You're an American citizen. You have the right to identify however you want to identify. But do you have the right to force me to agree with your identification? And in doing so, do you not violate my rights to believe what I want to believe?
Bingo. I think that's a great question. And I think it's, I think that's just a good point.
That wasn't a gotcha question. I know I'm putting you on the spot because you're like our Gen Z representation here.
It's only my third episode. But
I know you're doing great. You're doing great.
But no, I think that is that begs another debate, where it's like, where is kind of the line in the sand? Like that's still kind of a gray area where it's like people who don't agree or don't have that kind of
I think most
perspective on things.
And I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, guys, leave comments down in the comment section. And Arthur, I'll let you chime in here too. But where I think we get it wrong, right, Alice, is I think we all agree that you can identify. It's a free country. You can identify as whatever you want to identify as, right? What you cannot do is force me to change my beliefs about how I see you, right? Because now you're violating my rights and my beliefs, right? Which we all have natural rights. And you cannot exercise yours by violating mine in any way. And this just happens to be, we're talking about gender, right? But this goes across the board on everything. You cannot exercise yours by violating mine. That is wrong. You can't do it any way you slice it. And I think the most Americans, right, want to be courteous. They want to be kind. If I see somebody who is trans on the street and they would like, if it's a guy that wants to be a woman and identifies, I do not in my heart personally want to misgender that person. I don't want to be like, an asshole about it and be like, hey, sir. But if I do, if I accidentally, because, I have eyes, right? If I accidentally misgender you, what I don't want is a browbeating about how I'm some, misogynistic, homophobic, transphobic person, because I'm not. I don't want to misgender you, but I also have eyes, right? I have eyes to see and ears to hear, and you have a 5 o'clock shadow and a baritone voice. And an Adam's apple that sticks out further than mine, I might be like, hey, dude, what's up? You know what I'm saying? I just don't want to be, browbeat because I got it wrong. Because on the inside, I'm like, dude, if you want to be Sandy, I'll call you. It's fine. I'll call you Sandy. I want to respect that about you. But respect me in the beliefs that if you look like a dude, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck, right? And that's just nature, right? So I just don't want to be browbeat over it when I get it wrong. And you're exercising your beliefs cannot impede on my beliefs. Arthur, what do you think?
Okay, I'll call you by a different name, but I'm not going to change the science to reflect your unrealistic reality. So don't expect me to call you a woman like Levine, as Secretary of Health. That's not a woman. I'll call you a different name. I'll call you Sandy. Okay, that's one point. Second point, have you guys seen any of Matt Walsh's documentaries, like What is a Woman or Am I a Racist?
I did see What is a Woman, which was comical. I did not yet see, but I will see Am I Racist?
Okay, those are great. If you wanted to get an insight into someone that's an intellectual that goes into the opposite side of the spectrum and asks the tough questions and sits there and listens and gets a response in reference to what is a woman. Number one, what is a woman? What is a woman? I'm just curious. What do you guys think? Is it chromosomes? Is it how you feel? Can you feel like a woman? Like I like scented candles and Sex in the City or whatever. That's what Matt Walsh says. Like, does that make me a woman?
See, but I think that kind of goes back to like, what is your opinion, I guess, as like, as far as biological sex versus gender? Because gender is like this is what I believe. This is what I took a ton of classes on it in school, and gender is the social construct of who you are and who you identify as. Your biological sex is who you were born as. And I think that,
Yeah. Okay. Let's go down that. I can get down with that. Okay. Your biology is set. It's male, female, X, Y, whatever. I can get down with that. And then your gender, it can be whatever you choose.
Whatever.
I'm good with it. I think Arthur's good with it.
I'm good with
Alice,
that.
You're good with it, right?
But don't push it on little kids. And your brain is not developed until what age? 26, right?
Roughly 26. Yeah.
So don't push
it on fully developed cognitively. Yes.
All right. So
frontal cortex, full development, which is where all logic and reasoning happens, is roughly 26 years old. So I agree. I think, it's like I tell my kids, you want it, and I know it's like a tattoo is like a stark difference from like a sex change operation or puberty blockers. But it's like, I tell my kids, like, don't get a tattoo until you're like 28, because you'll actually be able to think it through. Why do I know? Because I got one at 18 and I've regretted it. Like from the age of 28, 29, I'm like, what the fuck did I do? Like, why do what?
Is it an ex-girlfriend or something?
No, it's a damn Chinese symbol, dude. Like, which was super. I was like the only kid in my high school at the time to have a tattoo. Like I was in high school, dude. And I'm like, I'm getting a tat, like, I'm tatted up, bro.
You're badass, man. Whoa.
Oh, back then, dude, I was a rebel. I was a rebel without a cause, with a lot of acne and no girlfriends. So, I mean, yeah, it was, I got tatted up, so, but no. And I think this is a good conversation. I think this is a conversation that we need to have in America. And I think, what I love about this conversation is, does anybody who's watching notice how we're not going at each other's throats or calling each other names or being hateful? Like, we disagree. Like, clearly, I think, Arthur and I are basically on the same page. Alice is a little bit different, but we actually conceded that, yes, biologically, there's two things. Gender, you can pick. We'll go nuts, but just don't push it on kids, right? Wait till you're old enough to be able to think through things, right? Because you may regret your decision. And we'll honor whatever gender you want. Just don't ask us or berate us if we get it wrong, right? Don't ask us to conform to your gender fluidity. I almost sometimes I feel like I got a mouthful of marbles when I'm talking. Don't ask us to do that, and just don't push. Like, you can exercise your rights as an American citizen anytime you want, as long as you're not infringing on somebody else's. So I think
that's fair.
And I think it's fair in the opposite direction, right? Like, I will not infringe on your right to say whatever gender you want to be, right? I will do my best. All I'm asking in return is that if I screw it up, because chances are I will, right? Because I can see and I can hear, just don't browbeat me over it. Be graceful. If you're in the trans community out there, and, just be graceful about it. Like, people on average are not purposely trying to upset you and hurt your feelings. Because the vast majority, going back to the very beginning of the show, the vast majority of Americans are good people. They're just good people. We just focus on the wrong issues sometimes, right? So, Arthur, getting back to your stories. All right, so you guys came here from Russia. You guys have built a great life. And I think you've already said it. Like you're in real estate, you're in the business, you're supporting Donald Trump. That is obvious. There's no doubt about that. Did you already vote? Did you early vote or?
You see that right there?
Oh, you did it today.
I just voted today. You see
Holy crap. He just voted today. So safe to say you voted for Donald Trump. But I asked Tim this, who we both know, and I'm going to ask you the same question. It's obvious you support Donald Trump. You kind of gave the reasons for supporting Donald Trump, but I want to know the reason why you would not support Kamala Harris.
Well, it's because this is worth much less than
it was 4 years ago.
You go to the store. Okay, you guys go to the store, right? You bought gas in the last couple of years. What is this worth? This is not worth nearly as much.
Far less.
You guys have a couple of bucks. Hey, by the way, I got to plug in my boy Damon Darling. If anyone knows Damon, got $1.
I got a sign. No, I don't. Tell us about Damon. But then you still got to answer the question.
Keep promoting my book, anyways.
Oh, got ya.
Just a little plug for Damon. He's a comedian here from the local Dayton area, my buddy. But yeah, I think if you look at inflation, if you look at the immigration policy, if you look at the open borders, if you look at her lack of, if I look at Trump and he's actually answering questions and she's doing like one town hall and there's nobody in there. So I don't think she's done much. She's got connections, she's connected to that party. But I don't see anything positive that's happened in the last 4 years in my life. As far as streets are more unsafe. This is one of the things I brought to the city commission when I went up to speak about a year ago. You're in real estate. I'm in real estate. I have some migrant housing from Mexico. They come over from Mexico. They come legit. They come checked out. They come through the migrant worker program. We have technically what is considered a migrant house, a labor camp that they consider it in the state of Ohio. So what that means is state comes in twice a year. They inspect the property. They check it out. They check to make sure the people are living in good conditions. And I want that. Right? I don't want people to be living in slums, and I want them to be living with cockroaches, and I don't want them to be living with undocumented people, and maybe there's child abduction and sex slavery and like all these different things that come with that. So the state comes in multiple times a year. They check on the property, they check on the residents, make sure they're living in good habitable conditions. So me as a landlord, I have to spend a lot of money, just like basically Section 8. I have to upkeep the property, do extra stuff to it, make sure things are ran properly. And we have people that buy property here in Springfield where illegal folk, not illegal, but they're undocumented people come. How do you know how many people are living in that house? So me as a legit landlord, I have to abide by the rules, but you don't have to abide by the rules. So this is where the rub is. This is where people are like, wait a second, this doesn't make any sense. Like, so I have to follow the rules, but you don't have to follow the rules. So I don't know who's living in that house. And I've sold properties like this with multiple people. One at 221 North Yellow Spring Street, if anyone wants to check that out. Springfield, Ohio, 45504. And you can look at the pictures. There's probably 15 residents that were living in that property. So, okay, so hold on. Based on the zoning, you wouldn't be able to have that many people, but because you're just, otherwise you'd be homeless. You know what I mean? So they shipped all these people in here, and So now the landlord, George 10 or whoever it is, it wasn't at that time George 10, but George 10 has got a investigation against him from the state right now. I don't know if you guys seen this state investigation because he was bringing in people supposedly illegitimately.
Is he the same guy? And I promise I'll come back to the question, but is he the same guy that has the temp agency that is making millions of dollars by employing all the illegal or legal immigrants that have come into Springfield? And I'm not trying to, I'm just asking the question. I don't know him. I'm not trying to make any allegations, but is that the same guy that owns the temp agency there in Springfield that is employing a lot of these migrants?
Right. Yeah. Supposedly his name is George 10. They call him King George on the street. And supposedly this is the guy, and this is the guy that's being investigated right now for smuggling people in. So they're just busting them in. We've had people walk in, neither here or there. So the problem that I have is, and the problem that I brought up in front of the commission is, so you guys want me to play by the rules. I'm okay playing by the rules, but I want everybody across the board to play by the rules.
Right.
Okay? I don't want you to selectively enforce it on me because I'm actually paying the taxes and I'm doing the right thing. Same thing with like, they'll call me about some grass not being cut, or like some bushes. There were some bushes I had at 1510 South Center Boulevard, and they said, well, they were overgrown. We had to get in the company. And I cut those twice a year. My team cuts it twice a year. And they charged me $200 for $10 for maybe 10 minutes of work. And they enforced it on me, but then I gave them 10 other houses down the street that are complete beaters. And so this is, I think, where people are getting kind of frustrated because I'm getting the brunt of the enforcement, whereas this other guy that's doing something illegal is getting no repercussions and he's doing whatever he wants. And now here I am getting the heat. That's not fair. That's just not fair. If you're gonna do that, make it equal across the board, enforce it equally across the board. And this is why people are kind of upset right now. 2024, we've got people coming in here. You got people coming here illegally or whatever across the border, and they're making more money than the homeless veterans. The homeless veterans over here, there's over 800 homeless people right now in the city of Springfield.
Yeah. And we talked about that with Tim, how like this whole crisis over there has actually increased the homeless population. And if I could sum up maybe just a little bit of what you said, what I'm taking away from this is the reason you're not supporting Kamala Harris is because she is just more of the same of the regime that creates unfair scenarios that quite literally go against, the hard work, productivity of American citizens trying to play by the rules in the playbooks. And they're just upending the whole thing by letting in millions of people that are not assimilating or doing things by the book. We have to follow the rules, but they don't.
And getting more benefits than the people that have actually been here and served the military and protected this country. Yeah.
Yeah. And that can't happen. Like that just literally cannot happen in America. And yeah, hopefully in 6 days, there is a change at the top. I'm making Alice go vote on the 5th. She gets the whole day off of work to go do this, Alice. So don't forget. And Alice, are you actually going to go vote?
Yes, I will. I will take the 6-hour drive round trip.
And Alice is still undecided. Alice, you're on TikTok, right?
I am.
Oh, what's your TikTok handle? What's like your username?
I think it's just Alice McGuigan.
Alice McGuigan at TikTok. So go over and Alice is still an undecided voter. So go over and give Alice some feedback on, and some information and some knowledge on who you think she should vote for. Right, Alice?
Yeah.
You're open to that? You're taking and Arthur, I appreciate you coming on, man. How can people connect with you? Obviously, you put your phone number up on the screen for everybody to see. But if they don't feel comfortable calling you directly, how can people find out more about your book and all the business that you're doing in the real estate that you got going on there in Springfield?
You can find me on Instagram, Arthur Solomon. You can find me on Facebook and YouTube. Make sure to subscribe and like and share. We post a lot of stuff that we do throughout the city. We do a lot of cleanups. We do a lot of community stuff, just giving back to our community. And I truly believe that that's what's been one of the things that how we've been able to get in front of people and change people's minds. We get out there. I don't know how people vote. To be honest with you, I don't care how they vote. If you're willing to show up to a cleanup, I got respect for you. You know what I mean? If you're willing to show up and do something positive for the community, I don't care if you vote for the other side. I got love for you. I got respect for you. So thank you. But yeah, if you wanted to follow me, find me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Yeah, and I will say, dude, I've seen your guys' cleanups. I need to come out to one. I'm sounding like a little business, but I need to come out to one because I see it on Facebook all the time. You guys are doing an amazing job with your pop-up cleanups there in Springfield. It's awesome. So guys, go follow Arthur. And if you haven't already, pick up a copy of, actually, I got to make you guys a little bit smaller here, make this bigger. Go out, guys. Pick up a copy of The Art of Abundance by my buddy, Arthur Solomon. It's a good read. You're not going to be disappointed. So go out and pick up a copy. Help keep him #1 in the category of DEI, which is kind of a little, and that's true statement, but it's kind of an inside joke between us. But yes, he was number 1 in the DEI category. So go out and pick up your copy of The Art of Abundance today. Arthur, stick around for a minute, man. I appreciate you being on the show. We'll catch up as soon as we wrap this thing up. Alice, final thoughts. What do you think?
Yeah, as always, I appreciate being here, and I really did enjoy the conversation that we had today. I know we've kind of kicked off my first 3 episodes with some pretty controversial topics.
Getting deep in the weeds.
I know, but I really do love it, and this is the thing that I really wanted to do when we first talked about me coming on here. So I, as always, appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. And I love that you're staying authentically you, right? Like, even like, cause you don't even like, what I love about it is like your face doesn't start to contort. You're not like, most crazies out there. Cause I think that's where we've gotten in the country, is where like crazy, it's just like fight, hate. And there's obvious times where you're like, no, I don't think I necessarily, but disagree or agree with that, but you stay very composed, and I appreciate that about you.
Yeah. I think my like main message too is that, I have different views, but I'm not going to be extreme in pushing them, or I'm not going to be an extreme in one way or the other. I am always willing to, sit down and hear you out and hear the other side and just have a healthy conversation about it. I think not to rabbit hole again, but just, I think as a country, we've really just have these 2 major sides of things just kind of clash, and we've just really got away from being, we the people. So anyways.
Well said, Alice. And I agree with you. I think we can have a civil conversation. I think we need to get back to that in America. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to be on different sides. But at the end of the day, we're all in this together. We need to love each other, get through it together. But that's it for this episode today, guys. And if you have forgotten, I am going to remind you, make sure to go out and pick up a copy of We the Puppets, the audience for the best illusion ever performed. You can get that over on Amazon. And if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please take the time to leave us a rating and review. Alice and I would greatly appreciate it. But until next time, guys, stay informed, stay strong, and most importantly, stay in the fight. Okay.